Councillor McEleny, we're almost 2 hours since the ballot boxes closed and they've been counted here. How are you feeling about the prospects for the SNP tonight?
Well, with quite positive vibes on the streets today. I did say before the election started that if it was a low turnout, that would perhaps suit Labour, and the higher the turnout would suit the SNP, because perhaps people that voted for the first time in the referendum would come back out and vote SNP for the kind of same positive message. I think for my own estimations, we're maybe going to see a turnout of about 72%. So that's kind of in the middle of where I was thinking would sway for each side. With a quick glance down there, and it's looking decent, I would say, at the moment. So I'm quietly confident. The national trend's obviously saying that we're going to have a really good night. But obviously we'll wait and see before anybody starts celebrating.
From what I've seen of the boxes that are coming in, it looks very close in some boxes. I've seen Labour ahead in others, the SNP well ahead in some other boxes. Is it too early to say how it's going to go, really?
Well, I don't think anybody would ever give a definite prediction, but in terms of what you were saying, the variances I noticed, with low turnouts in areas that voted no, and with high turnouts in areas that voted yes. So I think there's a definite correlation in that people that voted no, that maybe were Conservative voters, have maybe gave Labour some support, but other people have gave up the ghost in these areas. And if in the areas where we've had a high turnout, we've been getting SNP supporters coming out and voting, that's going to make a big difference on the night, and I think that will see an SNP victory.
If it is to be an SNP victory, is it down to what has been traditional Labour voters coming across to the SNP, or is it people just being persuaded that the SNP is the best party?
Well, there's a few factors. There's the person that classed herself as a traditional Labour person but probably didn't traditionally vote at every election. They've now voted yes in the referendum and they've bought into the SNP's social progressive politics. People that actually voted Labour at every election, they've come over to the SNP because they see Labour's policies, voting for £30 billion of cuts with the Tories at Westminster. They don't see any difference now, and they see the SNP as the only party that's going to fight austerity, so that's why they're voting SNP. And with the likes of Nicola Sturgeon, who came to Inverclyde this week, a crowd of 1,000 people gathered. So people are seeing that positive message. It mimics the referendum. It's a new type of politics, a politics of hope and aspiration, instead of the usual politics of just fear and loathing.
And nationally, is it looking as good for the SNP as the polls were predicting?
Well, I've seen an exit poll that predicted that the SNP would take 58 seats. But I mean, by the definition, these polls are on the exit, so I don't think they actually factor in postal votes. And traditionally in Scotland, postal voters are a bit older than in the rest of the UK. And what we've seen, obviously, you've seen some Labour voters, but perhaps they've been their elder years. So that could maybe bring that down. I don't think it's going to be 58 seats, but I'm quietly optimistic that we're going to have a good night for the SNP. Don't forget, in a venue that we've seen the Tories and Labour celebrating together just 7 months ago. Who'd have thought in such a short space of time we'd be back here, perhaps celebrating a SNP whitewash across Scotland?
Thanks very much.